welcome to the Keystone Experience. Rob Warwick
and Matt Pitzer.
Brought to you by Creek Archery. Find your passion and hunt it down.
And Hillview Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Remember, Hillview has it in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, we got a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Barry Breidegan from Forget Genetics. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing this evening?
Good, man. Good. Hey, I don't know if you've seen the video the other night, but I was out and I put a bag out. I had to get it away from the wife because she was dumping it out here in the yard for the yard deer, and I told her that ain't for the yard deer.
You'll have bigger yard deer then.
Yeah. So what's going on, buddy?
Not much. We're on the road. We seen you guys last at the Great American Outdoor Show down in Harrisburg a few weeks back, and then from there we had a weekend off, and then we were back in Virginia at a show, and then we're headed to the Central PA Outdoor Show here in a few weeks, and we have a busy show season up until the beginning of August. So yeah, we're on the move.
Cool.
I try to fill in my feeders and get my mineral sites in there done too at the same time.
So how did the rest of the Great American Outdoor Show go?
The show was fantastic. This was our third year at that event, and every year we go back, it's a better and better year. Meet new faces. One of the reasons we really like going back is to see the people that use our products, to bring in, I've seen so many trail cam photos. I've seen so many success stories. And it's funny because we have what's called our banner of success. When we seen you guys there, we have a big banner with everyone's picture on it with their harvests. And we tell them, send your pictures in to us, and we put them on our banner up there. And this year we gave $300 gift card away. Next year we're doing $400. And all the people, like all these folks were showing me their pictures. I'm like, you guys missed the banner of success. You should have sent those in to me. They're like, oh, we didn't know. I'm like, yes, we do it every year. It's our way of trying to. We're a small company. We're a meat and potatoes company, and we try to give back as much as we possibly can. But it was a great show, great people, a long show, 9 days. Whew. We had some success, some underlining success as well. Partnering and starting to work with the Trees and Camouflage Company out of Alabama and Georgia. Those guys. Joe and Mike helped me out quite a bit since I'm such a young company and naive in the company standards in this big corporate world, trying to help me along the way a little bit. So that was a real big outcome from the show. And I got the flu. Man, did I get the flu coming out of that show. I was down for 3 days with a 103-degree temperature. It was orders were coming in, and I was trying to drive the truck with one eye. I thought it was back to my younger days. You know, it was one of those weeks. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I think I talked to you after that, and you said you guys were all sick up there except your daughter.
Yeah, everybody. Actually, my daughter went down then too. Every one of us went down with the flu. Yeah, it was crazy. And then it didn't help as well. One of our team members there, Joe, his mother had passed away. So we had that issue going on at the same time. And then her funeral services and such. And then it snowed the day of her funeral.
So
a nice shirt you got on.
Yeah, it is. I managed to pick it up while I was up at the Great American Outdoor Show.
Absolutely.
And you know, that's the one thing we love about the show. That was our third year, Rob?
Yeah.
Going up there and covering that as part of the press is you never know who you're going to run into. Same people, new people, and we happened to stop by your booth, and it was great meeting you and learning about your product. Something that's kind of it's different than what you normally see.
Yeah, and we get that all the time. Even in our science is different. Everything I've done is different up until this point. It's beyond the Walmart syndrome is what we call it in the shop. You know, where folks go in and they see something on the Walmart shelf, so they buy it and use it. So it's got this person's name on it, that person's name on it. It's got to be a great product. And all my products, I designed and developed all my products. Everything we have was out of my noodle, out of my brain. So everything was developed in the field. Everything I've done up to this point, I grew up in the farming industry. So the science is not different to me, whether it's the different cattle, goat, sheep, so on and so forth. But the science is different. Numbers are different. Ingredients are different. But I developed our products in the field, not on no high fence farms at all. Everything was developed 100% in the field. I own the small mill that does all this. So I don't call somebody and say, hey, I have these numbers and this idea. Can you put this in the bag for me? It goes well beyond that. When I first started the company, I didn't want a company at all. I didn't want to do this. This was not my idea. It was something I was doing for myself and my friends. I got to the point where I got tired of using products that were working great today. And then, fast forward a year or two, all of a sudden they stopped working as well. And I went to the field to develop my own products as a hunter, as well as you folks probably do. You guys that do your own urine or anything, and that's what I did, is develop for me and my friends. And we did this for a few years. And I, being a science nerd and being a nerd period, I documented everything. So I was doing this on a small scale. No intentions of taking this larger, until I came home one evening and I walked into my dining room after work, and I thought I was walking in an intervention. And I'm like, well, I don't do drugs. One thing led to another. I have wonderful support of my family and friends, and they're like, you need to sell this stuff, man. You need to get this out there in people's hands. It's different. It's not a goat mineral. It's not a copycat. I didn't just read someone else's science, and I don't regurgitate other people's studies. I read the studies all the time. I look through the studies all the time. And that's what I took to the field and developed into our products. I mean, to go completely a different avenue. And everything we've done up to this point is it works. You'll see growth. You'll see the magnet of deer attracted to it. And I put a lot of emphasis on developing products for hunters and not customers, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. And I think it's important to get your message out, because people are so, I guess, uneducated is the word when it comes to minerals. They think
yes,
what they see
absolutely.
in big box stores and, Tractor Supplies and stuff like that is a good idea. And when you really start looking into it more, it's not.
Absolutely. I mean, just the education of when to use your minerals. I can tell you right now, my sales skyrocket July 1st, which is you're a little late to the game. We're doing a video next week for ourselves, as far as we get to ask that question all the time. When do you run your minerals, Barry? When do you run your mineral stations? Well, outside of Pennsylvania, I run my minerals 365 days a year. Inside Pennsylvania, we can't do that. And a lot of states you can as well, because you have to have it out of the field 30 days prior. So at a minimum, I always recommend to my customers and friends, I run from January through the end of July. The reason I always recommend January through the end of July is January, our buck are coming out of post-rut, so they're worn down. They need built back up. So no magic, any granule, anything in any bag is going to grow antlers on a white-tailed deer. Not my bags, not anybody's bags. So what we're trying to do is build that white-tailed deer back up, their bodies, their muscular system, their skeletal systems, so that way when they're ready, when they drop those antlers and they're ready to start new growth, they have those nutrients, that build up to pull from inside their bodies at the same time, and their skeletal systems. But at the same time, with that being said, we're going to continue that those supplements. And it's not just our buck, it's our future buck. All our doe are carrying prenatal fawns. They're all impregnated this time. And we're trying to get those minerals into those does. So those does are dropping healthier fawns at healthier body weights. And at the same time, helping with milk lactation. So when those fawns do hit the ground, the mothers are going to still be passing those minerals along to those new fawns. And then you'll start seeing them, and you folks will see them as well in your mineral sites. As soon as they start kicking them off the teat, she'll bring them in those same mineral sites, and it'll start that process. And on my properties I manage in Maryland and Delaware, we've actually seen almost like a fast forward of growth by a year. We're like subtracting a year. It's an impossible thing to think about, an impossible thing to do. But for years, everybody talked about culling bucks. And one of the biggest pet peeves of mine growing up was, we have to shoot this spike buck, we have to shoot that spike buck. He's never going to amount to anything. And or that he's only a 4-pointer. Well, granted, not everyone's a trophy hunter. Not everybody's a big buck hunter. I get that. But you got to shoot doe as well. So it's one of the things. Stop trying to manage wild deer. It's impossible. It's impossible to call enough bucks in the wild to actually make a difference on your properties. At the same time, the doe, your doe, and that's another thing. We have a lot of folks out there who won't even shoot doe, which that's to each his own. But there has to be a proper management of buck to doe ratio, because they're all fighting for the same nutrients, the same proteins, and same everything. And you start shooting some doe on your property, you're going to start seeing more buck on your property, a bigger buck on your property, to be honest with you. And working with a few people, it was like hitting a brick wall sometimes trying to tell them, explain that to them. But after a few years, they started noticing bigger racks, healthier deer, and now they're completely on board with the whole system.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. I said it the other day in the video, man. I mean, every deer has the potential to be a giant,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like a bodybuilder. If he don't have the right protein and the right supplements, he's not going anywhere.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And not every deer is like, I have some ding dongs, but it is just like in our society, we have some ding dongs as well. I mean, but but you're absolutely right. It's more about nutrition, and that's actually where our name came from. Forget genetics. So forget about the genetics. Stop focusing on the genetics and start thinking about the nutritional aspect of the things, and start giving you. So I always get from people too, because we get lovely fan mail from everybody. Not the good fan mail, but deer have lived for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. They didn't need anything, but reality, yes, they did. I agree, they did 100%. But at the same time, we encroach on their daily living every day. We're making their habitat smaller and smaller every day. So we're taking those viable nutrition from them, their grazing areas. And, when you're looking at those summer months, spring and summer months, when they start really grazing, they start getting out and hitting that underbrush. We're destroying it left and right. Or with a lot of our parks and things like that, we're taking that undercut vegetation away. So there's nothing for them to browse. And we just supplement. That's all it is. This isn't a 100% feeding cycle. This is just a supplement to actually try to get more of those essential minerals into the animal, specifically your calcium and your phosphorus. Those are the two big essential antler growers that we have. We can actually contribute to growing better and healthier antlers in a whitetail. And it's just very, very important to try to help that process. And to be successful and to grow healthier, bigger deer, this is what we do. We've been doing it on deer farms for years. I mean, for the naysayers out there that say the minerals don't do squat, well, I'm here to tell you you're wrong, because they do. Whether it's they're getting it in a pelletized feed, or they're actually getting it in a mineral supplement, anything like that. Even in our cattle industry, we can, growing up, you could change the color of milk, or you could change the taste of milk just by what we fed our animals, and that's reality. You always graze a steer for a little while after you have a pen, just to cut the little bit of fat off them, to lean them up, make them look nice before, or you take them out of the pen and you put them in the barn and you fatten them up. Whichever way you did it, it was Dutch science or farmer science at that time, but it's real science. It truly is, and this is what I took and put in all this information, and growing up in this industry, what I went to the field with.
So we're going to go into what should somebody start out with if they're going to start trying to do their own mineral sites? What product should they throw out?
So we always recommend things called the Tri-5. We actually do our minerals in 5 different flavors: apple, acorn, sweet corn, persimmon, and peanut butter. Peanut butter is not a big up north thing here. It's more for down south, unless you're from New York. Those guys in New York love the peanut butter, and they're very successful with it. So I'm not here to tell them they're wrong. But we always recommend is the Tri-5. Not every deer likes apple. Not every deer likes persimmon. Not every deer likes acorn. Well, they're like acorn, but it's very specific to your area. So we always recommend, if you want to start a mineral site, 1 bag is 8 pounds. And then we design this to be as simple as possible. That 8-pound bag typically lasts you for your typical deer herd, an average deer herd, 30 days. And every 30 days, you're going to go out there and you're going to recycle, and you're going to put more of another 8 pounds down. And you run that January through the end of July. And it's as simple as that. There is nothing magical about it. Again, these were designed for hunters. And I've been a hunter. I've been around hunting camps. I've witnessed things that, for good things, bad things, how people do things, and all that information and knowledge is what I put into this. It's not just a throw down and it's going to last you, 1 bag's going to last you 8 months. yes, the deer will continue to come back to that same spot over and over. However, nutrition wise, we're trying to get more of that balance, more of that nutrition into them. At the same time, a lot of people tell me, hey, your bags are more expensive than this product over here in a bucket, or they're more expensive than this product over here, and I only have to put this one bag down every 6 months. Well, reality of it is, so our products are different, meaning that everything I've done is flavor infused. So there's products out there in buckets that, yes, they are cheaper. And I try to tell people all the time, if I sell you a bucket of salt, I can go back to the shop and sell you a bucket of salt for that same exact price and throw some flavoring in it. And you know what? I'll sell you the bucket of salt, but I don't want to do that. That bucket of salt has calcium and salt in it, and that's pretty much it. Okay, but even the rocks, you go out there and you get those salt rocks. Well, I don't want to call them gimmicks because they're not gimmicks, because a lot of people love them, and I'm not here to tell anybody they're wrong. But in reality of it is, they see pictures all summer long on those things. They see them in April, May, June, July, in those deep summer months. Well, deer are very attracted to salt in those months, specifically spring. They start wanting to take that salt in because they're starting to get a lot of green vegetation in their diet. You know, it helps them process the water and potassium through their systems. And they'll start and the deer get addicted to salt as well. So they'll get addicted to this, and you'll see them on that camera all summer long. And guys think this is working. I mean, I'm seeing all these deer. I got them on camera. This is going to be great. And then come the end of August, when the month starts cooling down and we start gearing up for hunting season, you don't see those deer anymore. They start migrating away. Well, on the other side of that is a lot of mineral companies out there, and there's a lot of good mineral companies out there, even local to us, there's some good mineral companies out there, some great science, is the tartness. So some of those companies won't put phosphorus in their minerals because, number one, phosphorus is very expensive. It's more expensive than most. And two, it's hard to get the whitetail deer to eat it. So because it's very tart in their tongue. So in early stages of my testing and going through the field videos and such, one of the first things, I didn't start with any of my own products out, and we set cameras on. I have thousands of videos that we just went through. And one of the first things I noticed on a lot of these videos, and their numbers are relatively close. I mean, everybody's running the 2 parts calcium, 1 part phosphorus, scientifically blended. Science tells me this, science tells me that. But one of the first things we noticed is a lot of these products is that when we stick them out there, the whitetail deer hit them. I mean, they'll hit that thing like it's nothing, sometimes within 30 minutes, and everybody thinks that's successful. And to me, I thought, okay, we're onto something. Maybe I found a new product. I don't have to develop my own. And but what I studied was frequency. How often do I get that whitetail deer to come back to that mineral site? So if I only have a deer coming in that mineral site once every 5-6 days, am I actually doing anything? Correct? I mean, it's just like us taking a vitamin. You know, if the doctor tells me to take a daily vitamin every day, and if I only take it every once a week, is it going to do me any good? Well, that one day a week, it might give me a little boost, but the rest of the time it's out. So I studied that frequency. And then also palatability. You know, what I mean by that is how it is on the deer's palate. So they'll hit that cycle or that mineral site within 30 minutes, but they won't come back to it. In some cases, it took heavy rains or heavy dews to actually dissipate that product into the surface of the earth before the deer would come back to it. And I've even went as far as calling some of these manufacturers, said, hey, what's going on here? What do I got to do? Well, you have to rake it in the ground. You have to do this. You have to do that. I'm like, well, this isn't a very good product if I got to rake it in the ground, because as soon as I rake it in the ground, all my numbers are gone. You know, all those percentages that are scientifically blended are now mixed into the dirt. So now those numbers don't account for anything. And that's what I was putting in my product when we were developing it. So now we have frequency, how often I get the animals to come into my mineral site. Secondly, it was palatability. And third was with my product is how it's having the ability to own the mill and do this on our own. Now, we're not a big mill. We have a small mill, 2 1,800 square facilities right now. But having the ability to hand select my ingredients and put all my products together, I hand select them by how they're absorbed into the ground as well as absorbed into the animal. So if you actually, when you dump my ingredients out in the ground or minerals out in the ground, you see there's different colors inside that bag. So there's whites, pinks, reds, grays, there's different colors inside there. Well, each ingredient was hand selected for a specific reason on how it actually dissolves into the surface of the earth. At the same time, it would go into the animal. So one of the things you'll see as the minerals start to dissipate, if they do at all, into the ground, is they'll leave a gray granule on the surface of the earth. That's your calcium and your phosphorus. That's your magic growing bullet. So what happens then essentially is the whitetail deer then has to go through that gray granule, that calcium, that phosphorus, trying to get everything else underneath them, taking that dog's pill and wrapping it in a piece of bologna and actually getting them to eat it.
Right.
And then the other thing about it is, being phosphorus is so tart on their tongue, we flavor infuse everything. So by that flavor infusion, it actually takes some of that bitterness out of that phosphorus and bitterness out of that mineral tartness, and makes it more palatable for the deer. So these white-tailed deer, they have so they have good sniffers, they have good noses. Well, their nose is linked to your taste buds, and they're very informed with their bodies, more so than we as human beings. We like bacon and we like steak, but they are much more in tune to their bodies itself, knowing what they need, knowing what's palatable. Because just like acorns, look, you can put different acorns next to it, red acorns, white acorns, and deer have a preference. It truly is. I have a property, for example, my Maryland property. My deer do not like apple minerals. They don't like apple at all. I have a buddy that has a property 2 miles down from ours in Maryland, and they don't like apple. But I can use apple on my other Maryland property with no problem, which is like 20 minutes away. But they devour the persimmon, they devour the acorn, the sweet corn. It's about the palatability, and that's why we did the try 5 this year. If you buy 5 bags. If you buy 4 bags, we give you the 5th one free. It's the same price as a bucket, $48. But you get the 5 bags so you can try the different flavors out to see which one your deer likes the best. And then when you find out which flavor your deer likes the best,
that's a good idea right there.
Because when you find out what works best for you and your property, then you're going to come back and buy the bucket from me. So you're not just buying a pallet or you're buying. This way, it works for both of us at the same time.
Yeah, and I can speak to that myself because, a couple of years ago, the camp that I go to outside of Punxsutawney, love apple.
Yeah.
Farm around here hates it. I literally have had to go back and pull the blocks and the mineral out because it's still there.
Lost you for a second.
Yeah, I was just saying that, up in Punxsutawney, the apple goes crazy. Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
It's crazy how different areas like it.
Works.
So by you offering them the ability to get different ones, I see that as a plus. They can figure out what works, and you're not spending hundreds of dollars to find out, and they don't like this. And then they blame the product.
No, absolutely. And that's the last thing we needed, especially as being a junior, a young company, and even down to our bags. I mean, if you see our packaging, you've used our packaging. We invested in quality packaging. We didn't want to be selling out of our trunk ideology. Just a simple looking bag. We spent the money to order professional looking bags and to be a professional company to keep those minerals nice. And
now we established us a mineral site. Now you have your amplifier for your feeders. What do we do with that?
So now our feeder amplifier. So one of those things that we found out being a junior company and a young company is we had to have more than one type of product to actually be of value in this industry. And so our feeder amplifier is just exactly that. Anybody that's ever put pelletized feed in a deer feeder on the East Coast of the United States, all the way down to Louisiana, will understand once it gets spit out on the ground, a pelletized feed is going to do one thing and one thing well, and that's mold. If you put it in a gravity feeder, it'll do the same thing. So what we did was we developed our feeder amplifier, which is flavor infused. We have that in the sweet corn, the acorn, the apple. What you're going to do is you take that, you mix that in whatever product you already run in your feeder, and most people out there run corn. So, and knowing that most people, because corn is cheap, so that's what they're putting in their feeder, we developed the feeder amplifier to actually mix with your corn as you're putting it in the feeder to actually increase your protein content, actually get your selenium in there, because it's the only way we can actually control that selenium content, the protein levels. That's exactly what it is. It's a pelletized, high protein feed, high fat. So that you mix that in with your feeder, your normal feed that we put in there. You don't have to run an entire feeder of it. It's just basically one of our 18-pound bags. We have you mix that in your standardized feeder, whatever you're putting inside there. We're not pushing that product as much anymore, as there's a ton of companies out there with pelletized feed. That's a really tough nut to crack. It's a really good product, but it's one of those that if you think there's a lot of mineral companies out there, well, there's way more pelletized deer feed companies out there, and that's the God's honest truth. So we don't push that one as much anymore. I still use it myself. I still sell it, but again, it's not one of those products that we really push. But we had to, getting into this industry, understanding you can't just be a mineral company. You really can't. If you take the science of whitetail deer, you take it, and you want to be a real business, you can't just have you can't be a one-hit wonder. If you, for example, but we did launch last year our Apple Jacks and persimmon pops, which let me tell you what, man, that stuff is awesome.
Yeah, Alex was
again,
eating it.
100% developed. Yes, you did. As a matter of fact, you did. And that was a home run for us as well. So a lot of companies out there, they're using scraps, millings, things like that, but we didn't do that. They're grinding their products up and they're creating all these powders and dust. And again, from the hunter's aspect, I mean, we've all used this and that and everything else. And again, once you dust that on the ground, if it gets wet or damp, the first thing it does is molds. In Maryland and Delaware, you can bait deer. And I'm not going to sit here and say I don't bait deer, because we do. It is what it is. And we used to use products out there. One of them was Acorn Blank, the brown product. And
Yep.
it just stopped working. And, coming to find out, a lot of these companies got bought out. And that's the reality of it. It's a small guy like me, created some great product, and years go by, they sell the product out to these larger corporations. And these corporations keep the numbers on the bag the same, but the ingredients just aren't the same. They're calling the mill, just like I said earlier. They call the mill and say, hey, put this in a bag for me. Here's kind of a recipe. And things change. So I developed the Apple Jacks and the persimmon pops in the field, blending different. I wanted a good protein content, because that's another thing, and sell it for the whitetail deer, saying this is the best deer attractant in the world right here. And in reality, it's nothing more than a horse sweet feed. And one of the things, the key notes on that you'll see is that 15% crude protein or lower. There was a competitor up at the Great American Outdoor Show this year. I won't mention, but their name. But they were doing the protein blocks, and they for the deer, and they were only 12% crude protein, and that's not a really good for an average whitetail deer. That's not a good protein content for an average whitetail deer to be taken in 12%. For them to fight on that block for that long to get 12% crude protein out of it. It's just not viable. So we refine our grains. They're the natural way, the way we actually process them. The ingredients are right on the bag. It's very simple. And everybody sits there. You put this in there. You put this in there. I'm like, I'm here to tell you, I don't. The ingredients are right on the bag. I'm not going to tell you how we put those ingredients together, but they're right there on the bag. And it's a simple set of ingredients. And I'm not going to tell you how we infuse the flavor into it. None of that. And it's just we've tasted it. The Apple Jacks taste exactly like an apple.
Yeah.
The persimmon pops taste exactly like a persimmon. It's almost like putting oatmeal in your mouth, and eating some oatmeal.
Yep.
And it has such I was just talking with a gentleman this week, and it was funny, from Alabama, and he was telling me, Barry, he goes, that Apple Jacks, he says, I don't know what you're doing there. He says, but you got to keep that going. He says, because right now, he goes, I put some out there. He said, the turkeys came into it. He said, the deer came into it. He says, I had a fox come into it. And he says, here's the thing. I haven't seen a fox on my property in 5 years. He says, and I see him every day now. He says, and that daggone armadillo came into it, which I'm like, please send me the picture of armadillo, because I've never seen an armadillo eat my products. So that would be quite unique for us. But even down to his turkeys, this guy's a really big turkey hunter. And he says, turkeys can't smell. He says, but I don't know what it is about your Apple Jacks. He says, because typically he'll have one big gobbler with the 4 or 5 hens, and he says that's how they group up here. And he sent me a picture. He goes, I've never seen 5 big birds, 5 big gobblers in one picture, all eating the Apple Jacks at one time. He goes, dude, this stuff is unbelievable. And we were very successful with it. Actually, I shot my target buck this year over it, and like the persimmon pops, we found actually has a calming ability. It's so weird to say that, but once the deer can start coming in, their ears aren't tucked back. They relax. They get them off point, and they get so ingrained in trying to eat that Apple Jacks or persimmon pops, and it's very healthy for them. Even this time of year, our Apple Jacks is 18% crude protein. There's a slight bit of molasses in it. It helps with our fusion of the flavor, how we do it. The molasses is actually very healthy as well, but we don't overdo it with molasses, because even some deer don't like molasses. But the molasses actually promotes healthy gut enzymes this particular time of year, all year long it actually does. But this is the time of year where they're taking those harder proteins in right now. And that those healthy gut enzymes help them break those proteins down, so that it makes those proteins more viable for building on mass as well, body mass. So that was a big home run for us, is the Apple Jacks persimmon pops. We sell that dickens out of that in the fall, outside, not just Pennsylvania, because we started going nationwide with the products, and that was a big hiccup too, being a PA company. It was like, you can't bait deer in Pennsylvania. I'm like, I know, but I get it all the time. I'm like, I'm not baiting, even the game wardens on our property in Pennsylvania, with our minerals, because right now the big thing is residue. The Game Commission tries to get you for residue and stuff. And we did a YouTube video on this a couple years back. And it wasn't my idea. This actually came from a game warden friend of mine. And so they come in and they want to always see our mineral sites. And so what we do is we take those big Walmart totes. At Christmas time, they have them big wrapping paper totes, the big 3 foot by 10 inches wide, 10 inches deep. Well, they're basically troughs. So what we do is we go out on our property and we have holes, and we dig the holes. We put these in the ground, fill those back up with dirt, and then we put our minerals in those totes. And then 30 days prior to the season, we go out there to the side by side or the gator, and we take those totes out of the ground, put the lid back over, and fill the hole in. But now we've done 2 things. We put the minerals in the animal to help sustain our herd. At the same time, we're staying within the confines of Pennsylvania laws and just trying to do the right thing out there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
We kind of do the same thing. I got 55-gallon drums that I cut in half, and we lay them down, dump the minerals in there, throw a little dirt over top of them, and like you said, we'll go back and pull them out of the ground 30 days before the season. So it all keeps everybody legal.
Yep. Absolutely. And the Game Commission already doesn't like minerals. They don't like anything with the push of CWD in the state. Now, down in Philadelphia, apparently CWD doesn't exist because, you can do whatever you want down there. The 3 counties down in the southeast, and then we have that magical. We have a better border wall at the bottom of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Ohio, because those deer don't cross the lines either. So sorry, but
you're trying to get him worked up, are you, Barry?
Not to be political, but we're actually, so back on topic. Sorry, but even our persimmon pops and Apple Jacks. We got 2 of the machines this week, and we're finishing in the next machine. We're actually going to be taking and putting our persimmon pops and Apple Jacks into a 20-pound protein block. The same thing that's in the bags, we're actually going to put that in a block for the summer feeders. There's folks that want to put that out on site to last a little bit longer, so they don't have to continuously rotate. But like anything else we've done up to this point, we're different. It's not going to be one of those rock solid blocks that you see them dropping on the ground and they roll around. Well, you know how hard those are for the white-tailed deer to consume? Yeah. It's very difficult because they don't have the top teeth. White-tailed deer only have bottom front teeth. There's no top teeth. So you'll see them paw at them. You'll see them lick at them. And, it takes brain or anything like that to soften them up a little bit for them to actually be able to conquer those things. But they'll continuously come back to them, but it's really difficult for them to eat them. So we're actually, the way we're doing our block is it's different. But it's consumable. The white-tailed deer can actually nibble on it, munch on it. They can eat it. Yes, it will degrade faster. And I'll sell more of them, but at the same time, it's better. It's actually going to work, versus a lot of these other blocks. And a lot of these things, they're corporate things, were things that were designed for out west. And I want to develop products that work on the entire East Coast, the entire West Coast, entire United States, not just in a particular area. Even down with our minerals, we're not. So most mineral companies actually use salt as an attractant to bring the deer to their minerals to actually help cover some of the mask some of the harshness of it. But when you get to states like Delaware, you get to states like Virginia Beach, or down in Virginia Beach, you get down in Louisiana, Florida, they have really sandy soils down there, and the soils are actually salty already. So you're kind of it's not going to work right as well as it should. Again, Out west, they'll work great. Ohio, they'll work great. But where there's soils, we have much rich soils. Like Pennsylvania, we have good rich soils. West Virginia, we have rich soils. But as you navigate to the East Coast and you start hitting, down hovering that coastline, we have salty, sandy soils. It's not as effective of a product, and that's where a lot of our successes come from.
Now, with the Apple Jacks and the Persimmon Pops, do those go in, for those that don't know, do those go in with your mineral sites, or is that a separate site on its own?
So you can use it one of two ways, not to oversell anybody. And I never want to do that. Again, I don't want to be that guy that just tries to sell you everything, every bell and whistle on your truck. That's not me. But what I like to recommend is for a person that wants to start a mineral site, you don't need to do this by no means at all. You can use my minerals standalone. That's why they're all flavor infused. It's an attractant at the same time. But what I like to do is I use my Apple Jacks and Persimmon Pops as an inventory check, an azimuth check, if you will, for the military. If I want to see what made it through the Orange Army season, what I do is I take my Apple Jacks Persimmon Pops out there, and I'll dust the bag out, and I'll throw a camera on it. And within 24 to 36 hours, it's going to show you everything that you have rolling through that area that made it through the Orange Army. And then if you want right away, go out there and start your mineral site at that same location. Just go out there and dust your bag on the ground. But it's not necessary. Our products will work standalone. Again, they're two different products. That's a protein-based attractant. It's a bait. But at the same time, it's really however you would like to use it. Even down our minerals, one of the three things we're doing this week is our minerals is telling people, I get asked all the time, how do you use your minerals? Do I just dump this on the ground? Do I put it on a stump? Do I put it on? So we're actually doing a video this week to try to break some of the unknowns, because there's people that just don't know. Because again, it's a new ideology, people using minerals. For example, when we start a mineral site, if you don't have a log, you don't have a stump, what I like to do is I like to take a 3 to 6 foot circle and I take that top layer of leaves off. But I always leave that compost layer, and you'll see it. It's loaded with natural fungi and proteins. So I just dust my minerals on that, and those deer will come in and consume all that. They'll eat that entire mesh, of a compost layer. I like to use old logs that have a moss on, ones that are nice and soft and are breaking apart. I'll transplant them, so I'll break them open and pour it in there like a hot dog. And then you have your stumps. So we're different when I tell people about using stumps, meaning that a lot of folks tell them, hey, just take this and dump it on a stump. I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm going to tell you the opposite of that. So what happens when you find those old rotten stumps and you pour it in that stump, all your numbers trickle away. They go this way, they go that way. What we like to tell people is we tell people all the time, take and clear the leaves around the outside of the stump. Just pull them, right, kick them with a boot, pull them all around the outside of the stump, and then just pour your minerals right around the outside of that stump. So what's going to eventually happen is the white-tailed deer is going to consume that stump from the outside in. They're going to hit the root structure. They're going to hit the stump itself, because now all that stump is also loaded with natural proteins, there's fungi, fibers, things like that. So they can consume that stump from the outside in. So as every month you go out there, you put more on around the outside. They continue to eat that stump from the outside in. And that's been our proven success from day one.
Yeah, that's basically the way I did it. I got a log that got, good moss on top of it. And it's by one of my feeder sites. And I just dump that bag on top of there. And, I guarantee you what I do 2 days ago, 3 days ago, maybe. I bet you if I go out there and pull the card, I probably got 200 pictures in 3 days.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's a lot of people ask us as well. One of the questions comes up, can I put this in a feeder? Absolutely, you can. As far as a mineral, no. It dissipates it. Again, it's like putting sugar in coffee. All those numbers trickle down with those pieces. But if you want to flavor up your corn or you want to enhance that feeder, yes, you can put a bag in your feeder. Not the way I recommend doing it. Hey, I run these feeders. Where do I put the mineral site? So on one property, I have a mineral site 15 feet away from my feeder. So I have my spin feeder, and then I have 15 feet away, I have my mineral site by a log. And then I set my trail camera up so I can capture both of them. So then I can actually see the deer that are hitting the minerals. At the same time, I can see the deer that are hitting the spin cast feeder. So I can actually manage and keep an eye on both of them at the same time. And then I just have standalone mineral sites, mineral sites all by themselves in the woods, and just as successful. Because that's actually one of the studies I'm doing right now. Is on the University of Mizzou. They do a lot of studies as well, but again, I'm a nerd. I like to do this on my own. Is the deer patterns and traffic patterns of the white-tailed deer. Meaning that one of the studies I'm doing is I have in my property in Delaware. I have 2 feeders set up, and they're about 50 meters apart, 50 yards away from each other, and both have mineral sites. They're almost identical feed sites, and I'm capturing completely different deer on both of those feed sites. And then the deer aren't moving from one to the other. I'll see the same deer at the same locations. And like this buck over here will not go hit this feeder. This buck over here won't hit this. They're very territorial. And that's what they've been looking at right now. And I have 2 other properties we're doing the study at as well. I'm not sure if I'll ever publish it. It's just more for my studies and my knowledge, but just trying to better understand our white-tailed deer out there so I can bring consumers a better product or hunters a better product.
I'll have to send you some of the stuff from our property this year using this stuff, because I've noticed the same thing. Like, we got a pretty big farm that we lease, and I've noticed deer in one area that you don't see in the other area at the feeding sites and the mineral sites. So I believe that myself, that they don't really wander around like people think they do.
Some do, because that's one of the things you see on Facebook all the time. Look at this buck pattern. He moved such and such. I'm like, that's one buck.
Yeah.
All buck aren't the same. All doe aren't the same, And your buck will move, obviously. They have a bigger territory sometimes than the doe does. But I mean, I have a buck. We had a buck. He got shot this year, but he didn't move much at all. I mean, he stayed really within the confines of his bedding and feeding area because he had everything, the best of his world right there. And then I have other buck that again, my friend will see on his property miles away. I mean, and now I'm also talking with friends that they work out, they outfit out in Kansas. Same thing. Like, they've had buck move 5 miles from one property to the next, but at the same time, they have one. I was just talking with them this morning. They had one buck that he won't leave this one cedar tree grove. He just stays in that confine. And it's within a 40-acre block. And, 40 acres here on the East Coast is like having an acre, versus out in Kansas, 40 acres is, it's crazy. Not all deer are the same, not a deer act the same. And once we understand, it's just like us, we're not all the same. And if you ever did any farming, if you ever been around any animals, if you ever had a pet, they're all different. And the more we recognize this and start to understand that, the better off we will better understand the white-tailed deer as well.
Yep.
What other product questions you got over there, buddy?
Well, the sucker, the lollipop.
So that was not mine. Not at all. That was not. So I can't take claim. Now it's my design. It wasn't my idea. I have zero luck with them. My brother can use them 75 yards from me, and my cousin can use them in 75, and they'll have deer all over these things. I stick one of those out, forget it. The only thing I see are coons. So, but that wasn't my idea. So one of my friends, like I said earlier, when I came home that day, I felt like I was hitting an intervention, and we get together regularly, to discuss things, see how things are going, and he's like, "Hey, I used to buy these lollies." He says, from this guy, but he doesn't make them anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, he had these molasses lollies. I'm like, okay. He said, you need to make these things. We need a corn and we need an acorn. I'm like, all right. I said, well, what was it? He goes, I don't know. It was just this hard candy thing he stuck in a tree, but deer loved it. So, all right. So I started researching, and I started putting pen to paper, and I started destroying my wife's kitchen. So to create these deer lollies. And it didn't go well at first. I mean, anybody who thinks it's easy, forget about it. Because I get asked all the time, how do you make them so they're hard? I'm like, I can't tell you. If I told you, my wife would shoot me because I destroyed her kitchen way too many times. I burned some pots. And even my first design, I had it down. Everything was great. So I sent some down to, I have an uncle in Florida. And I wanted to see how they worked in the heat. because up north our conditions are different. So I sent him a few down there, and he says, "Dude, I stuck that on a tree, but lunchtime it was on the ground." I'm like, "Well, that's no good. So that's not going to work." So back to the drawing board I went, and digging into cookbooks, grandma's cookbook, and looking at what she did and different recipes that weren't even related to deer hunting. And what I did was, so we actually add a binder to it, and what that binder does is slows the process down of it melting. And the specific binder we use and how we do it and everything else was the key to success there. Now we use 100% jute twine. We don't want to leave any trash in the woods, so everything biodegrades. You take your plastic with you out, but it's a molasses lick. One of them has acorns in, which we harvest natural acorns, and one of them has corn in it. And the reality is, I like to use them on my properties in the off-season months more so during hunting season, because those lollies, the molasses, again, helps both those healthy gut enzymes in the white-tailed deer. And what that allows them to do is take and consume and use those harder proteins that they're taking in this time. But they're great. I mean, guys love them, and they have a lot of success with them. Pictures of deer on them. I'm like, man, you guys suck, because I can't get them to work for me at all. And then we took that a step further. I'm just being honest. And we actually took that a step further, and we had some folks reach out to us from Alaska saying, "Hey, dude, these are fantastic. You need to make them bigger. We need them for bear." I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. So back to the drawing board we go. And scaling this was awesome too. I mean, I went from my kitchen to now I have this gigantic, so in our one facility, we have basically this huge kitchen with these cooking pots and then automated cooking pots and everything. So I had to figure out how to scale everything, because you can't just make one at a time in the kitchen. But anyway, back to my bear lollies. So we actually make them bigger. They're 6-pounders. It's like a gallon ice cream container. We do 3 flavors in those. We do black licorice, sweet candy, and peanut butter. Now the peanut butter and the sweet candy, they're not just for bear. They also work for deer, because I did find the deer like the sweet candy one quite a bit as well. But we ship those to Alaska, Canada, Maine. So one of our clients up in Alaska, they fly in. So they don't have the luxury of being able to take the big 55-gallon drums of donuts and things like that. So our products are smaller. They're easier to put in the boat plane, and they take them in with them. And they've had some great success. I mean, they stuck the first one out when we were testing them. We had these for almost 2 years now. This is the first year we started selling them, because I wanted good positive feedback. So within an hour, they had 5 grizzly bears on it. And they harvested this big, beautiful grizzly bear on, sent me pictures. They're very happy. They actually had our products in their shed up there, and had a black bear chewing through the shed trying to get our products inside the shed. So they had to shoot a big black bear, which was, I mean, that was success. Yeah. And we don't put anything on the streets unless I know it works, and it's going to work for you, and it's not a gimmick. There's too many of those out there. And that's not what we want to be. We're very honest people.
Well, I know when we met you up there, we hit it off right away. I mean, Alex stuck his hand in the bag of that Apple Jacks and pulled a big handful out and ate in front of you. And
absolutely, because I tell people all the time, it tastes like apples. They're like, no way. And there was proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, me and Alex do that all the time. You'll see videos coming up here pretty soon. You'll see us. I'm guaranteeing you somebody's going to stick their face in a bag of minerals and come out of there look like the Godfather or Al Pacino. Somebody's going to do it.
My son has actually he's tasted all of our minerals. My son actually went to school for biochemistry, so I have that behind me as well. But he went to college on a wrestling scholarship. But so he's really involved. My daughter's involved. My wife is involved. I have the great support group behind me pushing this down the road. And there's one product I cannot believe you guys didn't ask me about, and that's
the stump.
Yeah, please, the salty log.
Yep.
So. This is our salty log. So this was this is 100%. This was my idea. But I actually was visiting a friend one time, and he was showing me how he was doing some stuff in the shop there. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool, man. That's a cool process. And I'm like, wait a minute. You know what? I could almost, but it was small scale. And that was a really tough thing, actually, too, to scale this monster, because we've had these for 2 years now. We actually brought some to the show last year, but we can only do a few at a time. And now we have much larger chambers that we do this in. And what we do is we take a real piece of wood, And we actually infuse that piece of wood in a brining solution of apple flavor, molasses, and salt, essentially turning that into a wooden salt lick. It's not a long-term thing. It's bait. How long does a bag of corn last for? But man, it has you open that package up, it has that smell of sour apple, it has that smell of that natural salt. And if you lick it, it tastes exactly like a salt block. And there was some trial and error too there. Trying not to, so when we first put some out, they molded. And just trying to figure that process out for packaging. Because if you get a slight bit of air inside that package, it would swell up with air and the whole thing would turn to mold. So we fought tooth and nail in our packaging to figure that out. And now we scaled it up. We can do quite a few of these at a time now. And it's a really neat, unique item. And it's funny because I tell people, so I was like, feel the weight of it. You can feel it, the weight of it. It's fully saturated. It's fully in there. And as it drips out onto the ground, it's going into the ground. It's going to last you. I actually took one of these when we were testing them up in the northern mountains of Pennsylvania, way out in the middle of nowhere. And no hunting or nothing like that going on. And I'm not saying I was on game lands or not, because you can't do that on game lands, but I wanted to see how it worked in the real wild. And so I went out, I hung my stand, and I went out and put one on the ground, went back to the cabin that night. When my brother goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to sit up. I want to see how this thing does." So I go up, walk all the way back in there. Again, no hunting seasons, just my disclaimer, nothing going on. But I walked back in there. As I'm walking in, I kicked the ear up. I'm like, "Oh, this is nice. Okay, good." So I got to my stand, crawled up my stand. I was up my stand about 20 minutes, and this is right before daylight yet. I started hearing movement. I'm like, all right. Daylight hits, deer. I mean, it was just awesome because they never smelled, that apple, that sweetness. It was just, and the log is that wood is so small, but they had such a large area torn up. And the nice thing about it is too, once you're done, you put it in your backpack and you walk out. Yep. So, yep. It's real wood. It's not a bait that the deer's going to consume. They do gnaw on it, eat on it, but again, it's a pretty invisible bait, but only legal in states where you're supposed to bait. But you do you. I sell to anybody.
Yep. Well, buddy, I told you it was going to go quick.
Yeah, I like to talk. I apologize.
No, that's what we're on here to do.
Yeah, I mean, who better to hear how to use the products from than the guy that makes them and sells them?
Absolutely. And I use them. Family uses them. Friends use them. You guys use them. And that's been one of the biggest keys for our success is folks that they come back because it works. Folks that are coming. So some of those other companies are, like I said, tying them into buying pallets of other stuff. And we don't do that, man. You want to come in, you want to be a dealer. I work with all our dealers. We actually provide free shipping to all of our dealers just to get our products, our brand out there. We're just trying our best. It's a big industry, and we're small guys, but we're making an impact one day at a time. And our science is different. Some will call our science junk science, and you can call us whatever you want. But you know what? It's working. We're very proud of what we created, and they called Noah, an amateur as well, and
yep.
Look what he built. So, it's one of those things.
Well, why don't you tell everybody where they can find more information about you guys, or where they can order it from?
Absolutely. So you can reach us at forgetgenetics.com. Even if you Google Forget Genetics, we're the only thing that's going to come up. So you can purchase from our website. We offer free shipping on all of our bags of minerals and our persimmon pops and apple jacks throughout the United States. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We have one gentleman down in Georgia running our TikTok page because I'm just not a TikTok guy, so he's taking care of that experience for us. You can reach us at the shop as well. We do not sell out of the shop. That's one thing we don't do. We try to encourage our customers to buy from the local dealers. Right now, we have 65 dealers across the United States, the East Coast of the United States. And as far west as Nebraska is another store. But if you go on our website and there's a little spot on there that says locate a dealer, you click on that, put your zip code in, it'll show you the closest dealer to you. At the same time, if you don't have a dealer next to you and you have our product and you love our product, start hounding your local stores, whether it's your mom and pop feed stores or your bow shops, and tell them, hey man, you need to stock this. Word of mouth, and it's really worked out for us. And your help and sitting down and do these interviews and the podcast, this all helps us grow and try to achieve what we're trying to do. I don't want to be a rich man. I don't need to be a rich man. I'm rich with family and love as far as that's concerned. But I love hunting, everything. So I give back more than I take, and many times, like we're sponsoring a veterans coyote hunt on one of my friends' ranches in Kansas this year. In January of next year, we're paying for the whole thing. As far as working with people in the industry, with you folks, it gets tough some days, but we try to do as much as we can.
Right.
Well, buddy, hang out with us here for a couple more minutes. We got some bills we got to pay, and then we'll call this an episode. So hang out for a second. Let's get this rolling here, bud.
All right, man.
Hey, thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, we appreciate yours, buddy.
So hang out and let us get some bills paid here.
Crick Archery. Find your passion, then hunt it down. Mr. DePerna and them guys are getting busy down there. It's that time of year, 3D season starting. Get your bow down there, get some new strings, get some new sights, new bow. Maybe we can work something out here. We might get some of this stuff down there. I don't know. We'll see what we can get going here. Stop down, see them guys. Crick Archery. Find your passion, then hunt it down.
Hillview Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. New, used, certified, pre-owned. Head in and see any one of the fantastic sales teams. They will get you on a test ride, get you the value of your trade-in if you have one, and get you back out on the road in your new vehicle before you know it. Head back to the service center for all your service and repair needs. And if you've hit one of these unfortunate critters or anything else and need to have your car fixed up, head back to the collision center, certified to work on many makes and models, not just what they sell on the lot. Between the collision center and the detail shop, they will have that vehicle back up on the road looking brand new. Head over to hillviewmotors.com for the inventory, and remember, Hillview has it.
Duke Traps. We use Duke Traps here. We live by Duke Traps. We had one heck of a trapping season this year. Give Bill a holler. He will take care of you. If not Bill, the other fine folks that work with Bill down there at Duke Traps, they will get you all set up for all your trapping needs. They also sell pecans, so if you need some pecans, give Bill a holler. He'll take care of you. www.duketraps.com.
Well, buddy, we're heading into turkey season, so we say it all the time. You still got to be scent free if you're hunting turkeys.
Yep, them big old skillet heads will bust you in a heartbeat while you're sitting out there waiting for a turkey.
And the only scent free products that we recommend come from your buddy,
Deer P. Dave
at Apparition Scents.
Yes, sir.
Get the Phantom Hunter and stay scent free this season. Between the spray, shampoo, laundry, he's got you covered there. And then when we get into deer season, you've been using the Forget Genetics all summer. You got to switch over to little Deer Pea.
Mm-hmm. Switch it up with some Deer Pea. Get yourself some of the Nosy Whitetail, some of the Blind Date, some of the Inferno, some of the Dead Red, and the new
hemp ropes.
We've been running the Undertaker and that for, since August. And I'm still getting bucks. The other day I pulled a camera card and I had a buck hitting a scrape February 15th. So, I mean, these bucks are still going after this stuff, and they were done in August. So, 100% lethal. Apparition Scent. Check them out.
And we got Chico Outdoors. Chico Outdoors is a nonprofit organization that promotes outdoor recreational activities such as hunting, fishing, trapping, and they like to do it for the veterans and the youth. It's in honor of Andrew Chico Christ, who unfortunately passed away, but Matt and the rest of the family have continued this in his honor. It is a nonprofit organization that hosts the annual Outdoor Expo in April. Puts back into the community, promotes outdoorsmanship, believing that younger generation is the future of tomorrow and vital to our outdoor recreational activities. Head over and follow them at Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to check out this year's Outdoor Expo, April 13th and 14th. And if you've missed it, you'll have to wait till next year. But follow along, Chico Outdoors.
Hey, we got another good product here from PA. Bow Creek Outdoors. We run these cell cameras 365 days. And I just put one out the other day. I'm sure you guys had seen the video on Facebook of me putting out the new BC, 52?
Something like that.
BC 30. 32. BC 32. There's so many freaking numbers running through my head right now. But it's the wide angle. I put it on one of our fields where the gobblers usually hang out. And I got a BC 48 over top of my Forget Genetics mineral site. So get your cameras out there. Give these guys a holler. Veteran-owned PA company. Matt will take care of you with anything you need. Great. They work on all three.
Yep, the cell camera. Yep, cell works on Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Picks the best one for you so you can move that camera wherever you want and not have to worry about losing signal.
And then you got the solar panels. So if you're one of them people like me that hates to go into your sites all the time, get yourself these solar panels, put them on there. I have not touched the camera in almost a year now. I just got to go there every once in a while to wipe the lens off because spiders like to build nests on the lens for some reason. So give them guys a holler. Bow Creek Outdoors. Great products.
Z&M Harley Davidson. While you were out putting cameras out, I was out riding my Harley.
Yeah. See who got to do all the work around this place?
I picked it up. I got to get some use out of it. We're going to be up at Z&M, so you'll want to stop up this summer. The reason the ride has kicked off, so go up, get your badges, and stop out to the 14 different restaurants to give back to charities. The 2024 models are on the showroom floor, so head up there and check them out. Some big changes to them this year. Go back to the service department for all your repair needs, tires, oil changes, stuff like that. Check out the new website and znmharleydavidson.com.
Hey, another great Pennsylvania company, Back 40 Seed Products. Roy and them guys, I was just talking to Roy this afternoon. We're going to be trying out a new seed here pretty soon. So give these guys a holler. Roy will help you from designing your food plots to helping you plant it to figuring out what fertilizers you need to use, what you need to use to kill the weeds. Roy will help you. He might not answer you right away, but he'll get back to you. Trust me, he's there to help. Back 40 Seed Company. Give them a holler. Get it in the ground. The deer will come to it.
Who's our next one here, bud?
Weeby Knives.
They're wicked shop.
They are not made in Boston, Matt. They are not made in Boston. They are made out there in South Dakota.
Either way, they're sharp.
They're wicked sharp. Wicked sharp. We use them constantly out there in the fur shed. You use yours on a daily basis.
I was using it today to cut hoses up.
I got one right here that I was using to cut open mossy oak boxes that came today with new camos in it. So,
replaceable blade, surgical sharp, processing kit, I believe is currently on sale.
Yeah.
You'll want to get that while you have the opportunity. The multi-tool is a great thing to carry with you every day as well.
I got mine all the time.
Check all the stuff out at weebyknives.com.
Hey, Trapline Beard Oil Company. These things don't grow, nice like a food plot. You got to keep these things going, so you need products to run through your beard. Check out Trapline. Brian will take care of you. He got all kinds of good scents for these beard oils. The beard oil, helps dry skin and everything like that. So give Brian a holler. He'll take care of you at Trapline Beard Oil Company.
Sometimes things happen, buddy, that we can't control.
Yep.
That's why we have insurance. Make sure you give the Kelton Black Agency a call for your commercial, auto, homeowners, farm, and life insurance needs. We've worked with Kelton before, and he'll work hard to make sure you have the best coverage possible. Give him a call today for a quote or head over to his Facebook page, Kelton Black, representing American National, and do business with someone who cares.
All right, one more, our very last one, the Outdoor Call Radio app. Download this app. It's got podcasts, live shows, 365 days a year, 24/7. We're on Wednesdays on a loop with Mr. Dan Young, the guy who put this all together. You can listen to him live. He does some crazy cockamamie stuff about Bigfoot on there and ghosts and all this other stuff. But you can get on there and check him out. He does all kinds of great giveaways, man. They're giving away a whitetail hunt. They're giving away a turkey hunt. I mean, some of the prize packages are just crazy. Go download this app. Check it out, the Outdoor Call Radio app.
And while you got that phone in your hand, head over to our Facebook page, Instagram, give us a like and follow to see what we're up to. I believe Rob still got us going on TikTok.
I ain't got us kicked off. We ain't putting no dead critters up there lately. So,
and make sure you head over to the YouTube channel. Give it a subscribe. We've got new video podcasts coming out every 2 weeks, along with different hunts, clips, and everything else that we've got going on. Follow along with us and everything at the website, www.thekeystoneexperience.com. The new merch store is up, live, and running at unityprinting.com/TKE. We appreciate all the support. Buddy, take us out of here.
Hey, remember, shoot straight and keep the dirty side down.